So my first question is kind of a general one, but when taking on a project like this, what are the first musicals, either golden era or modern, that you look to sort of generate visual references that you want to try to attain?
I was not a musical theater guy, so I really needed a lot of education. There were a couple of musicals. There were three musicals I liked. Pennies from Heaven with Steve Martin, Monty Python's Meaning of Life, which isn't exactly a musical, and I loved Hair, the Milos Forman. But that's none of those were great references for Schmigadoon. So I looked at a lot of the other musicals like Carousel and Seven Brides for Seven Brothers, and frankly, I thought we could do better. I was really disappointed in a lot of those musicals. Of course, Singing in the Rain is pretty great. Watch that one again. What you do pick up on is that what was great about those old musicals is they filmed dancers from head to toe. There wasn't a lot of like wasting up or close ups or inserts of feet. And the great thing about dance choreography is when it's working, you want to have as little cutting as possible. You really want to let the camera sit back there and really enjoy seeing all that singing and dancing. So that was one of the things I learned pretty quickly watching those the musicals is to stay wide and try to see head and toe and do as little as cutting as possible. And we did. We always went sort of straight in on the axis, which is another thing they did a lot of. But I loved how we let some of these songs and dances play out in longer segments without a lot of cutting.
My gal loves corn pudding. She eats it constantly. Sometimes I get to wondering, does she love it more than me? Does she love it more than me?
Well, sort of related to that and sort of playing the wide and not having a lot of interstitial stuff. There's a lot of not fourth wall breaking exactly, but there is a tricky element of like where the fourth wall is being broken with characters looking straight into camera, and then a second layer of fourth wall breaking where you have two characters who understand that they are stuck in a musical and everyone else does not. What's the trickiest part of going about trying to direct these scenes to still give them the weight they need without having it be like a sketch, let's say?
Right. A lot of that is how you direct the actors. And the way you direct the actors is that they always have to play the reality of the scene, not the comedy of the scene, the reality of the scene. I mean, one of my favorite lines in the show, which is also in the trailer, is Cecily saying to Keegan, "We're smart. We found our way out of IKEA." And she says it without trying to be funny. She doesn't go, "We're smart. We found the way out of IKEA." She just says it the way you would say it in conversation. So that's why you can have all this artifice of camera and camera angles and singing and dancing is because they're always believing what they're saying. And I think that allows you to have a fourth wall without you feeling they're exactly winking at the camera.
What was it like working with this? You have a couple of ringers that you're bringing into this cast, a Kristen Chenoweth, an Anne Hareda. Like, what is it like bringing all these people in and like just letting them go to work, as it were?
Well, what's amazing is how talented all these actors were. They all can sing, dance, and act. I knew they all could act. But then there's Aaron doing this extraordinary dance number. And in all of those angles that you see, there's a version where it played out in a single master without any cutting. I mean, we eventually cut things together because sometimes the studio likes cuts, but it's amazing how great Aaron is and how great Jane Krakowski is singing and dancing inside a car. It's just unbelievable. And then you have Chenoweth, who of course is perfection. In fact, I would every day whenever I saw, I would say, "All right, do glitter and be gay," because I love Candide. And her version of Cunegonde is extraordinary. But she does a 4-minute musical number in Schmigadoon with not a single cut that goes around all four corners of the stage, followed by a steady cam operator. There's balloons, there's banners, there's this. That was an amazing thing to pull off, and we knew we didn't want to cut, and Chenoweth had nailed it in all three takes.
Slightly tangential, but you mentioned Pennies from Heaven. I'm actually part of a pandemic movie club, and we did watch Pennies from Heaven as one of our movies. At the risk of, in Updike's words, hugging the shore as opposed to sailing the open sea, we do kind of rate each movie. And I'm pleased to inform you that two movies you're involved with are number 1 and number 2 in the movie club. Penny Marshall's Big is 2. And then Get Shorty is our number 1 rated movie in the club. No specific question really, but do you have any memories or scenes that sort of stand out from those films and making those pictures?
Well, I'll give you a Gene Hackman, Dennis Farina story. Dennis Farina played Bones in Get Shorty, you know, the loan shark from Miami. And Gene Hackman is playing this schlocky producer. And there's a scene where Gene Hackman wakes up in his office and Ray Bones is sitting across from him, and Gene is trying to do the Chili Palmer thing and says, "Look at me." And Ray Bones says, "Look at me." Farina says, take a look at this," and throws the desk on Hackman. And take a look at this, and he throws him against the wall. And take a look at, and he throws him into a wall of books, and the books all come down. All right, so we are filming the scene. All the dialogue is with Gene, but when we go into this big stunt, it's Farina and Gene's stunt double, who used to be a pitcher for the White Sox, believe it or not. And his stunt double was perfection, right? Just perfection. And Dennis is throwing his stunt double around, and Hackman comes on the set to watch a take because his stunt double is doing. And Hackman says to me, "Hey, I think I can do it." I said, "You know, Gene, I think it's better that we do it with the stunt double and not you." And Gene says, "I can do that shot." And I said, "Right, but I don't think Dennis is going to want to do it with you because he won't be able to be as violent." And Gene says, "Just ask him. Ask Dennis if he wants to do this with me." And I go, "Hey, Dennis, Gene wants to do the stunt with you." And Dennis goes, "No, don't let him do it because I'll accidentally slip. I'll punch him by accident in the face. He'll get mad at me. He'll come at me. He's a big guy. He probably could take me. Then I got to take out my gun and shoot him. And I don't want to be the guy that's known as the guy who killed Gene Hackman."
Ray, look at me.
What?
Look at me, Ray.
Did you just say look at you?
Look at me, Ray.
I tell you what, Harry. Why don't you take a fucking look at this? And have a peek at this. You know, Harry, this is the exact fucking thing I needed. A little fucking exercise.
So I said, but I just love that Dennis Farina, this manly man, was so afraid of Hackman. So I convinced Hackman to let him continue to let his stunt double do that take.
Oh, thank you so much for your time, Barry. I just couldn't stop thinking of Danny DeVito in the Chili Palmer role. Like that was sort of like, what would that movie be like?
Well, you should have asked me to give you that answer. I would have done that one.
Well, your gift card to the Ivy is in the mail for being the number 1 movie in my pandemic movie club.
Well, excellent. Thank you so much. That's very kind of you. Thank you.